Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So thank you all for joining us today and welcome to the Chamber's third joint webinar of the 8-part series with DeVry University. For those of you who I have not met or do not know me, my name is Amanda Donahue and I have the pleasure of serving as the Chamber's Special Events Manager and Executive Assistant. We have an excellent webinar today discussing LinkedIn for career growth. So with that, let's get on with some brief housekeeping before I introduce our presenter. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and will be distributed to our membership and available on our YouTube page. Please feel free to use the Q&A feature, which should be found on the icon bar at the bottom of your screen. Our presenter, Laura Knapp, will be able to answer all the questions as they're asked. We would also like to encourage everyone to participate in the chat box as the presentation is taking place. You may use the raise hand feature, also located on the icon bar at the bottom of the screen, to speak during the program. And if you want to know more about membership in the Chamber, just send me a quick note in the chat box and I'll be able to follow up with you. Now I have the pleasure of introducing today's presenter, Laura Knapp. Laura Knapp is the Center Dean at DeVry University and its Keller Graduate School of Management in Long Beach, joining the school at the end of 2016. Laura is a Southern California native and a longtime Long Beach resident, having lived in the Bixby Knolls and California Heights neighborhoods in Long Beach over the past 20 years. She earned her Bachelor's of Arts at Cal State Long Beach and MBA at USC's Marshall School. She's a member of the Long Beach Rotary, the Long Beach Chamber, Toastmasters, and its current chair of the South Coast Higher Education Council. She is passionate about education, which helps equip graduates to make a difference in fast-growing sectors of the economy. So with that being said, I welcome Laura to take it from here.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Amanda, for that beautiful introduction. And I just wanted to thank the Chamber as well for collaborating with me on this webinar series. We've been covering really sort of soft skills and professional development, career development type topics. And we'll be going through on a weekly basis through the end of February. So welcome everyone who's been able to join. I know it's crazy times. We're still, we're still in this situation. And so I think today's topic on leveraging LinkedIn to grow and nurture your network is very timely. It's very apropos just because we aren't seeing as many, we're not seeing any actually opportunities to get out there and pass out our business cards and talk and hug and get to know each other. And I think networking really should never stop. Okay, but it should continue on, albeit in sort of a different alternative way. And if it has to be virtual, so be it. Let's continue on. And LinkedIn is such a wonderful platform for this virtual networking. And it's a way to grow our network, even though we're not, at the chamber meeting face to face. Okay, so today's topic, I'm really going to cover using LinkedIn for career growth, but I do want to also underline that LinkedIn can be leveraged whether you're in job search mode, whether you're looking to grow your career, whether you're at a nonprofit perhaps and just looking to promote your nonprofit, or whether you're a small business owner, right? It really can be. And hopefully the topics that I cover today will be applicable for all of you here in this session. But I guess I should ask, and we are going to leverage the chat quite a bit. Hopefully you have that up. I just wanted to ask, from the audience, you all, I guess, what is your interest or what are your particular goals with LinkedIn? What would you like to take away from this session? What are some areas that you would like to learn? I guess, why did you sign up? Okay, absolutely, yes. Learning to network more, very much so. Absolutely. I talk with people and it really is always, it's about the networking. How can I increase my base, my foundation of people that know me via LinkedIn, right? How can I know more people? How can I engage in meaningful networking, using LinkedIn? So absolutely, we will definitely, that's going to be a big part of this webinar, this presentation. I'm going to give you some ideas on how to very thoughtfully get out there and reach out to people, right? Reach out to organizations, to companies, and engage in the ongoing conversation that is taking place on LinkedIn. Okay. It does take a little planning. And I would say, like with anything, as we plan our careers, it takes some foresight. Okay. We should have a goal when it comes to LinkedIn. just as we have a goal for our link for our networking, we should have a goal with LinkedIn. What do we want to accomplish? And if you attended the webinar last week, we talked a lot about goal setting, but the goals are based on the overall big picture. Who are we? Simon Sinek talks about why. What is our why? So what is our why? Who are we? We got to know. There's a little bit of self-knowledge and exploration that that we start with. Who are we? What do we want to accomplish? And why. So I want you to, just think about those things, mull these things over as we put together a plan for leveraging LinkedIn a bit more and a bit more successfully. Okay. So moving right along. This is the agenda for today. Okay, I have a number of different things here, but really my agenda boils down to 3 things. I want everybody on this webinar to ensure, first and foremost, that your profile is optimized. What does optimized mean? It basically means that it's filled out, that all the important things, especially, the top 3 things, your photo, your headline, and your about statement are up to date and that they're fully filled out. Okay. That means your profile will be optimized for search. Okay. So it's going to be showing up as people look for, people such as yourselves, to donate to, whether it's your nonprofit, right? Whether you're looking for donors or clients or business partners, or maybe your future employer or just somebody to network with, right? We want your profile to be optimized so it comes up when people run a keyword search. Okay, we're going to talk about networking and leveraging LinkedIn to grow your network. And we're actually going to talk also at the very end about being an all-star, getting an all-star status, which is really dependent on making sure you're optimized and making sure you have a good network and a couple of other things. So we're going to talk about all-star status, at the very end. Okay. So moving right along, and I'm assuming everybody here let me know who does not have a LinkedIn profile at this point. I'm assuming everybody does at this point have a LinkedIn profile that is more or less, right? More or less there, right? Anybody raise their hand, care to raise their hand if they don't have an up-to-date LinkedIn profile? Feel free to let me know via chat. Okay, and I assume you do. Why? Because LinkedIn is growing. There are new users all the time. 766 million plus users are on LinkedIn currently, and this is growing constantly. The last time I checked the stat, it was about 100 million less, right? So between the time I last checked the stat and now it's grown 100 million users. So it's huge, it's growing, it's global. More than 95% of recruiters say that they use LinkedIn regularly. Okay, so the recruiters are definitely using LinkedIn as well. LinkedIn profiles with professional headshots, and yes, the caveat is professional headshots, actually get 14 times more profile views than those that don't. Interestingly enough, I guess we're all, very visual creatures, so it does make sense. 2 million posts, articles, and videos are published on LinkedIn every single day. And although in the past, LinkedIn actually had more of a male demographic, interestingly enough, it is now more or less equal, okay, in terms of users. And these stats I got from Omnicore Agency, okay, in an article where they're covering LinkedIn stats, and it's very up to date. You can go ahead and we'll provide this presentation at the end so you can check, these hyperlinks and go to some of the underlying material. Okay, interesting. In 2018, there was an eye tracking study, okay, a study where the eyeballs were actually tracked of recruiters and HR professionals looking at resumes and at LinkedIn profiles. And they realized that it takes 7 seconds on average for the recruiter or HR person to decide whether or not to move on. Okay, and I would assume that this is going to be a very maybe not the same for everyone. Again, we're not just looking to find recruiters, maybe we are. I would say that in general, we're an impatient type of person, right? Our humanity, we're a bit impatient. We want to move on. We want to glean the important data, make a decision, and keep on going, right? And so I would just say for anyone, let's keep the 7-second rule in mind. Okay, so what does that mean, right? We want our profile to capture attention so that people do decide to say, let me dig in a little bit more. Let me find out more. Let me see, is this a business that I would like to learn more about? Is this a nonprofit? Is this a person that I would like to network with? Obviously, if you're in job search mode or career growth mode, right? And a lot of people with a pandemic, we are being very thoughtful about our career, and maybe we're working and we're happy, but in a way, these times with so much change on the horizon and already behind us, I think we do have in the back of our mind, what is our next step? Right? Where do we want to go? So we want to be part of, this conversation. We want to be part of the mix in LinkedIn. So 7-second searchable. All right. So the top things that allow, that make your profile more engaging are the things on the top fold, or above the fold, I should say. Right? Those of you familiar with reading newspapers, above the fold, it's basically the top of your profile. We all know that the profile you got to scroll down to get to everything. Let's just focus right now for what people see first when they pull you up in a search, for instance. First and foremost, it's the photo, okay? Hate to say, oh my gosh, but it is. It is the photo. Bottom line, just have one. Have a photo up there. Make sure that it's recent enough that it looks like you, okay? That it looks like, if you've changed your hairstyle, maybe you want to consider updating your photo. Bottom line, you want your photo to more or less look like you. So if you're going to an interview or you're going to a Zoom, people are not like, wait a minute, that's not the person. That's not her. That's not him. What happened? Okay, so you want it to reflect your current style. It has to be set on public, right? Unless you're an extremely private person and don't want anybody to see you on LinkedIn, there is a setting that makes your photo public that you do want. Obviously on Facebook, you want everything private. To the public, that's my setting, very private. In LinkedIn, everything must be public, right? If that's what we're looking to accomplish, if we're looking to accomplish that networking, right? And growing our network. Studies show, and again, this is very obvious. I know you all know this, but appearing friendly and approachable is very key, right? So studies actually support that, appearing friendly and approachable. Keep an eye on lighting. Are you faded out because it's too bright, or is it too dark? Keep an eye on lighting. Obviously, if you have a professional photo headshot in here, which is, again, you're going to get 14 times more profile views. And believe me, I'm not, touting any one professional, photographer, but this is really probably a good investment to make. I have had a professional photo in the past, although my most recent one, because I needed one, it was a photo that my husband took of me in our backyard. I hate to say, but you know what? It did the trick. The lighting was good. It was more or less up to date, right? And so for now, it's working. So I think bottom line, even if you don't have that professional headshot, just make sure you have a good one on your profile. Make sense? Okay. Very good. Very good. Another thing about the photo is we have this vertical kind of bar or field behind our photo, which allows you to put another photo or another graphic behind you. And I just recently, took advantage of this. And anyway, I have something that's more scenic. It's more, it's just a beautiful shot from behind our campus. So I went ahead and I put that in. There are templated things that you can pull in from LinkedIn that they offer, or you can go to the trouble of, putting something together yourself or taking a photo yourself. It's a horizontal view, right? But that can be your backdrop that explains a little bit more about you, depending on your industry. If you're working for Long Beach Chamber, if you're working for DeVry or for a cybersecurity consulting firm, okay? If you're working in higher education or K through 12, right? There's so many, again, we're such a visual people. And so I would highly recommend taking advantage of that horizontal backdrop as well and putting something interesting there. Let's talk about the headline and the about statement. Okay. These are the other two things that show above the fold. So your headline is essentially what I consider your title. Okay. And this is going to default to your actual job title or your most recent job title unless you customize it. Okay. So here is where you want to put kind of your slogan, your headline per se. Who are you? Right? What are you? It does not necessarily have to be exactly what your job title is, right? I'm center dean. To many people, people are like, what does that mean, right? What is that role? So an opportunity for me would be to add something specific that gives color to what a center dean is or does. Here we have Kaya. She's a Java geek exploring big data. She's a systems programmer. Okay, so she has a little bit of her actual title, but she actually leads it with something that's more descriptive of her personality and what she does. So Kaya is being very creative here, and it's important to realize that we can be creative with LinkedIn. It doesn't necessarily have to be a legalistic representation of our resume. It doesn't have to be a word for word of our resume. Okay. Overall, though, and this is according to CEO Crystal Ties, and she does a lot of LinkedIn consulting. And she says, really, you should consider yourself as being one of three types of job search profiles or LinkedIn profiles. One is going to be job seeker. If you are truly in job search mode, you do actually want your profile to be more or less very representative of your resume. Okay. So you want it to be very clear, very similar to your resume. You want your personality to show through, absolutely. But maybe maybe being too creative. We want it to be more tightly aligned with our resume. Okay, if you're a job seeker. Okay, if you're in job search mode, you're in between jobs. Okay. If you are in career development mode, what is career development mode? A lot of us who are working, we may or may not be looking for that next step. Maybe we're looking for the next step internally. Maybe we're just looking for partners to enrich, kind of networking opportunities to enrich our careers. Okay, so if you are in career development mode per se, you can afford to be more creative, and it's important to put your aspirations and weave your aspirations. What are your goals ultimately? What are your goals professionally? Weave that into your headline and into your about. Okay. And then there's a third category. There's a third category that Crystal talks about, and it's the sales and business development profile, type of profile. And if you're in a role that is business development, people don't really people are more interested, how should I say, they're more interested in you as a person and your personality, right? And what you bring to the table as opposed to a really exhaustive listing of your skills and experiences per se. So you almost get the most creative license if you are in a business development or sales role. Okay, so three areas: job seeker, career development, sales and biz dev. Okay. So unleash your creativity accordingly. I get the idea that Miss Kaya here, is probably in career development mode. There's a lot of creativity. She talks about her why. Ever since I was a little kid, software development has been my passion. Okay. Again, Simon Sinek says, start with why. Why am I here? Why am I doing this? She talks about an actual experience sitting in front of the Atari 800 computer, and it was just that aha moment that from on high, she just got such a boost from this and decided that programming was really what she wanted to do in life. And so this gives color to something that could otherwise come across potentially as quite dry via LinkedIn or via resume. Okay, it's brief. I believe you have up to 2,000 characters for your about statement. You want to keep it as brief as possible, as succinct as possible. Why? You want to you don't want to have a Bible there that oh my gosh, again, people are impatient. They want to glean as quickly as possible within 7 seconds whether they should continue on with your profile or not. Okay, so Kaya here, she has a very brief paragraph, including her why, including lots of color, and then she lists her specialties vertically. Okay, why is this a good thing? Any ideas? Any ideas? Feel free to chat them. If you have a list of vertical specialties, it brings the eye down past the fold. Okay, so if you have a long enough list, and again, it doesn't have to be terribly long, but if you have a list of items, you want to bring people's eyes down, so they get engaged and they decide, wow, I'm going to spend more than 7 seconds with this profile. Exactly. Absolutely. It helps you to stand out. It's very visually accessible too. Sometimes when there's a loads and loads of text, just visually, it's hard to process in a quick way. And so again, that 7-second searchable, you want people to be able to see quickly and understand and decide. Okay, so this is almost a very ideal career development type profile. And again, don't take the 2000, the maximum number of characters. That said, there's also been research that shows, and especially unfortunately, I think women tend to be more guilty of this, not putting a long enough about statement, okay? Or not filling it out at all, okay? Or just being very terse, couple of bullet points and you're done. It's like, no, we need to know more, right? We need to know more. And I'm definitely one of those folks, a little bit guilty of that. I'm like, oh, maybe I'm shy. I don't want, it's ridiculous. So I just recently took the time to fill that out a little bit longer, a little bit more detail as much as possible. And so I am in, kind of this, yeah, kind of in the same boat, and I think guilty of sometimes not having enough information. Okay. So again, there's that balance, you know, let's strike that balance with terse, but not too short and not too lengthy, and then vertically list your skills. Okay. So this is, we've gone over your photo, we've gone over your headline and your about. Another thing that is quite good to do and very much recommended, and LinkedIn recommends this too, customize your LinkedIn URL. Okay, you can personalize your URL. The default is always going to be some, very long URL that's kind of indecipherable. It's very nice if you can customize it to your first name and your last name. Okay, so it's going to be link, and that way, once it's customizable, it's easy for you to remember. It's easy for you to post. If you have a website, if you have a Twitter, if you have, oh my gosh, any other sort of advertising or marketing, even in your email signature line, it's a nice thing to have this linked in. And you don't want to have it when it's, long gobbledygook with lots of, alphanumeric. You want it to be your first name, last name. What if your first name, last name is already taken? Okay, that happens a lot. Oh my gosh. Add a number, add a year. Don't add your birth year, but add some sort of number, um, add something. I think I added, oh gosh, I think when I first started up on LinkedIn was 2012. And so mine may be 2012 or something like that. So yeah, add some numbers or add something else, but keep it short, keep it succinct, keep it, copy and pastable, if that makes sense. The more links too, by the way, that you have of your LinkedIn URL on other media, that sort of increases the searchability, right? It really very much optimizes your profile, and somehow your profile will show up more consistently in searches. Okay. And it shows that you care about your personal brand. Okay. And the way you come off professionally. So I would say, yeah, customize that URL if you haven't already. Okay. And absolutely, I'm going to share at the end of this a couple of URLs. There's so many excellent resources out there. And so I'm going to share with you some great URLs that you can just click onto, and it shows you exactly, yeah, how to customize that URL. Absolutely. Moving right along. Okay, let's talk about now, ideally, okay. Ideally now we will have, after this session, you're going to be optimized. Why? Because you're going to have your photo, hopefully your backdrop, your headline, your about, your custom URL. Okay, the important thing to know now that you're presentable per se, I don't know, now that you're good to go, we want to start thinking about growing our network and be very purposeful and thoughtful about this. And again, like with anything, it takes planning. Okay, who do we want to network with, right? I have a ton of people on my profile or on my LinkedIn, lots and lots. I've been working for a very long time, okay? So it's sort of grown organically. But I noticed the other day that a lot of my network, the bulk of my network, is actually in my former career. I did a career pivot about 4 years ago. And well, that's not a bad thing, right? They're good contacts, they're good friends. I need to be more purposeful and take that time and not just say, well, I have a ton, of connections, right? No, what about my current network? What companies, what groups, what people do I want to be networking with now, to help enrich my current career? Okay. So let's be thoughtful about growing your network. An easy way to grow your network is to join groups. And there are groups on LinkedIn. If you just use the search bar in LinkedIn, you can look up anything, whatever it is that you're interested in. If you're a woman in IT, okay, just search up women in IT women, something like that. Okay, if you are in a nonprofit group dedicated to higher education, right, or to animal rescue, for instance, I mean, anything. There literally are groups, and these are LinkedIn groups. And basically, they're set up to draw like minded people to help them to network with each other, right? And through the groups, depending on how active they are, you want to join one that's active where people are posting. They're posting questions, right? They're posting content, either articles, or maybe they're writing their own content to share with a group, right? So the more active they are, the more you're going to get to know, and see the people in the group. And this is a great way to start networking with like-minded people in your industry, in your region, what have you. Okay. The important thing is too, and I talk about planning, maybe you don't want to join 100 groups, because the thing is, you want to also to be able to contribute to these groups. Okay, so what about, are you going to be able to like the posts? Are you going to have time and interest to like some of those posts and maybe engage with them and comment, and eventually maybe publish your own content or provide a link to very interesting content? Like, will you be able to, are you ready to participate in that conversation? Because that's really the only way that you're going to get something out of that group and out of that, that attempt to network, if that makes sense. So yes, a great and easy thing is to join groups, but I would say be thoughtful about it and join the groups that look active and that look really interesting to you, so that you will and can stay engaged. Make sense? A group, a super easy group to join would be your alumni, group, alumni association group, wherever you went to school. That's always a great group to join, your alumni group. Okay, to stay in touch with with your fellow alumni. So that's a really easy one. Okay. There's so many different groups you can follow, companies that you can follow. You can follow people, right? You can follow people without necessarily being connected with them, right? I mean, I follow like Sir Richard Branson, and I don't know, I follow a couple of people in the news, Susie Orman, I follow her, but I'm not necessarily, I'm not, I'm not on her network. And so there's people also that you can follow. And this is a way too, especially if they're real, kind of influencers, or people who have a lot of impact in a certain area. It's also a great way to, when you like or comment on their posts or their original content, that's something that you're sharing with your own network and adding value, okay, to your own network. So that's another great way to stay engaged and add value to your own networking purposes. Okay. Okay, let's keep talking about growing our network. So hopefully we're adding groups, we're following groups, we're engaging with groups. What are the companies or organizations that you would like to follow? Okay. Within those companies or organizations, who are the specific people that you would like to meet? Especially if you're in a business development or you're looking for, partnerships, this is a very great thing to do. And you're going to want to start to think about talking points. And sometimes it's very obvious when you send a request, for to connect. Sometimes it's very obvious. It's like, oh, I think they already know me from networking, past networking. And sometimes you can send that invite to connect without a message. But sometimes if they're not within your circle or close to your circle, right? If there are a couple of people removed, you're going to want to plan your introduction. Why? Because not everybody accepts a blind connect. Okay, even if you're like, but I'm the center D or whatever, I'm chamber, I'm this. They may or may not accept that offer to connect. And so we want to make sure that we do get those people to accept, our offers to connect. So we want to think about how we can add value. What is going to be our plan, right? What is going to be our introduction? And it always starts with, how can I help them? How can I add value? We don't want to lead with like, what can I get out of this relationship? What do I need from this person? No, how can I help them? Are there people that I can introduce them to? Right? Or is it as simple as, oh my gosh, we know somebody in common. We have someone in common. That's a nice way to connect. Hey, so and so, hey, Joseph, we actually, I think, are both friends with Tom. I would love to connect with you moving forward via LinkedIn. How do you know Tom? Okay. So showing curiosity is a way to make connections. Making connections is about, I like to say, connecting the dots. Okay, let's connect the dots as we make our connections. Why do we want to connect with this person? Can we make that clear, via our intro? And how do we connect? And those are two ways, kind of my de facto fallbacks, and connecting with people I absolutely don't know from Adam, but I do want to connect with. Why? Maybe they're a very prestigious alumni, from DeVry Keller, and I want to, anyway, I want to network with them and get to know them a little bit better. So, you have to make that overt. You have to be thoughtful, and you have to really think about and just give it some time to come up with your value and what you're going to offer. I have a couple of other strategies beyond the, this is who we know in common, and this is the network that I would like to introduce you to. A couple of other angles in case you're curious or you're at a loss. The experience angle. If there's somebody that you would like to connect with and they have experience that you're very impressed with and you would like to get to know them more, share that. Say, I'm very, impressed. I saw your profile. I'm impressed with your background. I would love to hear more. Okay. And maybe see if there's a way that we can collaborate, something like that. Okay. The project angle. Let's say that you are now, I don't know, you're now being tasked with becoming an expert on a certain software at your company, and you would like to network with other experts of this software at other companies. And, that could also be something, hey, I'm working on a certain project. I see that you have experience with Jira, the software, with Jira or with Salesforce.com or with Microsoft SharePoint or with Python, whatever it is. I see that, again, it's very similar to the experience angle, but I see that you're an expert on this. I'm working on a project. I would love to just be in touch with you via LinkedIn, moving forward, knowing that you have, experience with this software. Okay, so these are just some ideas. I just want to, give you some ideas to brainstorm how we can begin reaching out, not just to the people we know and who, know us, but who we don't know and yet who really should be a part of our network. The interview angle. If you are one of those, LinkedIn users that does tend to write content, original content for LinkedIn, right? And I have some alumni that are in this category. They're influencers, they're very thoughtful people, they're pursuing higher education, right? They're in their doctoral program and they write a lot. And so this would be very natural for them, right? Or if you're a journalist, most obviously, this is a way to reach out. Or if you're just writing content for your own internal blog at your company, I would love to get a quote from you. The interview angle, can I get a quote from you? In a way, it is an ask. And I just said, don't lead with an ask, but in a way, it's also a very thoughtful ask and a way to sort of, I guess, I don't want to say flatter somebody, but just let them know that you know who they are and what their strengths are, and that is why you would like to connect. Okay. And then last but not least is the mentor angle. And I've talked about mentorship in a lot of the webinars, the importance of having a mentor. Now, no, we don't want to go out and ask for a mentor, immediately, via LinkedIn, somebody that we don't know. But in a way, and again, these are all very similar. You can say, I'm very impressed with your personal financial knowledge, and I would look forward to learning from you more, and I would love to connect with you and network, with you via LinkedIn. Your recent piece on investment strategies was the best yet, and I really would like to learn from you. So in a way, these are all very similar. They're sort of different lenses or different approaches to the same thing. But I think the idea is, bottom line, be thoughtful, right? Take a little bit of time to come up with something that shows you put thought into this, and don't necessarily lead with an ask or a favor, without letting them know that you know who they are, right? And I think it's always appropriate to say, hey, I just would love to, network with you here, learn from you. And if I can do anything for you, right? If I can introduce you to anybody that I know, lead with that favor that you're offering. Does anybody else, I'm going to open it up to the group via chat. Who else has any just amazing strategies when it comes to reaching out? I think bottom line, showing curiosity, showing that you've done a bit of research, and then leading with how you can help that person is just a great way, a great way to make sure that your invite lands and is accepted, and it's not just sitting there, right, being ignored. And I'll be candid, the types of invites that I do tend to not respond to are the ones that are very obvious about selling me a product or my company a product or service. And I hate to say, right, we're in the chamber, we want to network, but it all starts, thank you, it all starts with a relationship. Yeah. Yeah, you can always ask somebody to introduce you if you have that relationship in common. If it's somebody very strategic that you want to get to know, and you know that you have somebody in common, but it's, this person is not going to know you, ask for somebody to introduce you via email, or via LinkedIn. And then that's also a great way to go. Absolutely. Thank you, Brisa. Absolutely. So yeah, I would just say, I would encourage you to be thoughtful, and understand what you like to see in an invite, and make sure that lands and that resonates with the person that you're reaching out to. Okay, so moving right along. Whoops. Okay. So once the person accepts, does this ever happen to you? Sometimes this happens to me. Oh my gosh, they've accepted, now we're friends on LinkedIn. We're connections. This is great. Oh my gosh, I'm going to follow up with them later. I'm so busy. And then nothing happens, right? So it's almost like you're collecting friends on LinkedIn. You have this, it's great. Oh my gosh, I know so and so on LinkedIn. But then when somebody asks you, hey, do you know so and so? You're like, I can't say that I know them. I'm a LinkedIn connection with them, but can I tap into that relationship? Probably not. I haven't made any deposits. So think about it. And again, this is, this not just with LinkedIn, but any sort of relationship. If you consider it to be a potentially key and strategic relationship, you want to invest in it a little bit. Okay, you want to tend to it a little bit. Mention things. Once you have that connection, right, you can reiterate maybe some of the things, message them with some of the things that you have in common. Definitely reiterate your support. I would love to introduce you to anyone. We would love to, any way I can help. If you ever have any, anything I can help you with, let me know. And again, don't be asking for, favors just yet, unless, it's something that that they would be really motivated to do. Some people like to do public speaking. If you ask them for, that's not a favor per se. That's something that's a benefit for them. Okay, does that make sense? But I guess my bottom line point is, nurture that relationship once you have it. Once you've gone right to the trouble of having that thoughtful introduction and everything, you want to nurture that relationship. Makes sense, right? And think about it. I think the example of, at some point maybe we do, we do want to collaborate with that person. So it's better to have that relationship, kind of rolling, before you get into that nitty gritty. So, okay. So hopefully at this point you're thinking about how you can thoughtfully, right, and purposefully begin to grow your network in a really positive way. I want to start thinking about being an all-star, having an all-star status. Okay, if you do have an all-star status, and you can tell when you pull up your profile on LinkedIn, you're going to see something called dashboard. It says dashboard on the left, and then to the right, it's going to give you it's going to give you an indicator of how far along you are in terms of being an all-star. I can't remember if it's like a percentage, 50% there, something like that, or almost there, or it's going to say all-star. Okay, an all-star basically, and I'm going to get to that in a second, it allows you to come up in searches more often and just to be more visible throughout all of LinkedIn. And it actually, the results are, according to research, you're going to get 40 times, you're 40 times more likely to receive a job offer, right? Or an introduction to a potential client or donor or partner, right? 40 times more likely to really, I guess, let's say, just get traction or get something, from this LinkedIn presence. Okay, so we're going to talk about that in just a second. But part of being an all-star is endorsements and recommendations. Okay, how many of you have some recommendations on your profile already and some endorsements? I'm sure all of us do. I'm sure many, 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 and all of us do. The thing is, it's very key to have some endorsements and recommendations. Basically, this is the word of mouth. It's so powerful. Let's say if a future employer sees a comment by one of your colleagues or maybe one of your supervisors on how organized you are, or how, just how professional you are, how valuable you have been, to the organization, or maybe it's somebody that you worked with on a project, how knowledgeable you were on, project planning or project management or Jira or whatever it is, the software platform that it was. Okay, so think of them as their letters of recommendation they matter, right? They can make a difference. Let's just put it that way. And nowadays people aren't writing letters of recommendation, paper letters of recommendation anymore. Let's say you get laid off or something like this, God forbid, and you ask for a letter from your employer. A lot of times for legal reasons, they say, I can't give you a letter of recommendation, because HR tells me I can't. We just don't do this for anyone, but I can write you something on LinkedIn. Okay. And so they'll write you a recommendation via LinkedIn, right? Because maybe it's a more informal platform, but they're, letters of recommendation are something really of the past. So I would say recommendations are key to get. And you don't want to have like 10 at once because it almost shows like you had this campaign. So recommendations, you don't want to all be dated the same day. Does that make sense? You want them to be sort of throughout your career. And you don't have to have 100, you don't have to have even 10. I would say between maybe 5 and 10, 5 and 9, something like that. Half a dozen is really good, really nice to see. And then endorsements are endorsements on your skills. So these are skills that show up in LinkedIn that you can say, oh my gosh, I know that Dina is very skilled in conflict management, and I see it showing up on her profile. I'm going to endorse her for conflict management. And then it shows, right, via your profile that you have this many endorsements for these different skills. Okay, so again, with anything, we're going to develop our plan to get recommendations and endorsements. We're going to review our network. Who do we have in LinkedIn that would be willing or able to write a recommendation? Okay, go ahead and make the ask. Maybe ask them via email. Would you be willing? Would you be able? If so, and I have a sample letter in just a second, but yeah, you want to make it easy on the recommender. As Center Dean, I do get asked to do recommendations and, letters for scholarships and things like that. And I think a lot of faculty do, that's something that faculty tends to do. It looks like such an easy thing, but it can be time consuming, right? Because you want to be thoughtful, you want to say the right thing. And so I always recommend, if you want a recommendation, sometimes it's nice just to send bullet points or almost like a draft letter of what you would like to appear. Obviously, you want it to be honest and transparent. You want them to put it in their own words. At the same time, you don't want it to take a year for them to do that, right? Everyone's busy. So the easier you can make it for the person doing the recommending, if you want to say, these are the things that I would love if you could highlight. And I remember, we worked on these things together. If you don't mind, weaving this in, it's not only a way to make sure that that recommendation is, kind of lands and it's what you want, but it also just takes the burden off that recommender, if that makes sense. It makes it easy. Make it easy for them to help you. Okay. Always share your appreciation, and you may want to consider writing them a recommendation via LinkedIn in return, right? What can you do? Again, investing in your network. What can you do to show your appreciation? Okay. This is just a sample letter, a sample request, via email that you could send, so as you put together your plan for people that can recommend you, this is just a snapshot of what you could potentially, something along these lines, right? I can only imagine how busy you must be. I would be happy to send you a draft recommendation to edit if you accept. Right. So give them that option. Or maybe they say, oh, no, no worries. I got this. I'm going to write this today. But oftentimes I find that people do appreciate a little bit of help, in this area. So sample request. Any questions so far? Any ideas or thoughts on what, some of the things that you're going to definitely, put in place or focus on, moving forward? Feel free to share in chat. Couple of items, and I've talked about everything, things that we must do, right? Optimize, build your network, start networking, get those recommendations, get those skills up and have them be endorsed. Couple of things, and these are very obvious, but I do want to include what not to do on LinkedIn, right? And again, I think I'm preaching to the choir. I'm sure none of you are doing this, but some of them are subtle. You don't need to list an email or any contact, any personal contact on LinkedIn. Why? People have your LinkedIn profile, right? They can message you, they can reach out to you via LinkedIn, they can ask for, they can ask to connect with you via LinkedIn, right? That should be enough. That should be enough. I know sometimes in business development, there's that, pressure to want to make sure everybody has every single possible way to get a hold of me, and in LinkedIn, I would just, weigh it out, pros and cons. If there's your business website, that may be something you want to put in your profile. Okay, your business website, maybe your business website has more ways to get in touch, with the company, with the organization. So that could be a way. But yeah, no need to really list any, pertinent, private, contact information. Let's not spam our network. I know none of us are, but I think in the early days of network of LinkedIn, sometimes I would get these, spam kind of, oh my gosh, I'm, what do you call it? Like the network marketing, or, maybe it's somebody's coming up with their new product and, they definitely want everyone in their network to know about it. And I would just say it's, not LinkedIn is not necessarily for that per se. It should definitely be more thoughtful. Obviously, you want to promote your products, you want to promote your services, you want to promote what you're doing. I think with LinkedIn, we always want to take a very professional and thoughtful approach with how maybe we are, dabbling into, network marketing, or we have a product that we want to sell, or maybe a friend that we want to promote. I would just say be very thoughtful, be very professional in that approach and who you reach out to. And if you decide to, spam everyone, I think that's not the thing. If you want to post something very interesting or post some content, right, then that's something else. And I think that's very valuable. Inappropriate content on LinkedIn, and I see this often on LinkedIn, and people, when it comes to politics, just don't go there, right? Probably the same for Facebook. I was always told, there's certain things you don't talk about: politics, religion, and some other stuff. Same for LinkedIn. Let's keep the politics out. I know we are anyway. This is a professional forum. We want to talk about business, right? And again, just to underline, we're not asking for things too soon. We're building relationships using LinkedIn. Okay. And feel free to share if any of you have any other don'ts or any awkward moments on LinkedIn that you would like to, tell us to avoid. Feel free to share via chat. And right now, kind of getting towards the end, but I want our goal for us today to be that we were all in all-star status. Okay, that we all have all-star showing on our profile, so that when we look up our profile there under the dashboard, it has this little logo, with the stars and everything like that. This is what it takes here on the left, these check marks. This is absolutely what it takes to get to that all-star status. All-star status is essentially that every aspect of LinkedIn is filled out. Okay, but not just that. You could have everything filled out, but if it's not impactful somehow, right? If it's not impacting, and I know there's certain measures, that LinkedIn uses, if you just have the minimum in here, it's not going to take you to all-star status. So you got to make sure that you have your profile picture and background image. Okay. Catchy headline, custom LinkedIn URL helps you to become an all-star. Strategic experience summaries. Let's talk about our experience summaries. I didn't really talk about that yet. You have up to, I think you have up to 2,000 characters for your experience, like your job experience summaries. You don't need to take 2,000 characters, right? Brief paragraphs are good with a couple of bullet points on what you did. And guess what? You only really need to post on LinkedIn your current job and the last two. Okay, I've been in the work world for a long time, and just recently I did some pruning where I'm like, no, I don't need to have job experience showing from the 1990s. I'm just going to delete those. Okay, so I'm just going to take those off. If I need to provide them on some future resume or something like that, that's something else. But on LinkedIn, not necessary. So make sure you have the two most recent as well as your current job with some strategic experience with keywords. Make sure you're leveraging keywords in case somebody wants to search up certain people, by keyword, right? By a certain skill or a certain experience, right? Or a certain attribute. Make sure you have those keywords woven in. Make sure you have your focused group selections, at least a couple of groups that you're following and that you're engaging with. Again, don't sign up for 100 and you don't engage with them. Sign up for the ones that you know you're going to engage with. Refined skills. So LinkedIn allows you to jot down or kind of identify skills that you're known for, and you can pick them, and then it's up to your network to kind of endorse you on those skills. You need to have a minimum of 5 skills in order to be all-star status. Okay. And again, all-star status, you are 40 times more likely to receive something good via your network, whether it's a request to do business, a donation, a job offer, an offer to network with somebody very, very meaningful. And so we want this all-star status. So 5 skills minimum, and you can have up to 50 listed, but I would say, maybe somewhere in between is a good number. And then you want to make sure that you get those skills endorsed by your network. And sometimes it's as easy as asking, your close friends or your close colleagues, hey, do you mind endorsing me for a couple of the skills that are on my profile? I just endorsed you for X, Y, and Z. Okay. So kind of a quid pro quo, a give and get, and basically relationship building, no? And then connections, you want to have at least 50. I'm sure all of us, hopefully have more than 50 at this point. But this is one of the things that really brings down a profile. And I see this sometimes. And with very professional people when they have like 2 or 3 connections, and I'm like, why even have a profile? Just if you're not really going to be there, then I would really want to think, thoroughly, what is the value? Why am I on LinkedIn? So definitely you want to have more than 50. And hopefully with some of the ideas that I shared today in terms of reaching out and networking, you're going to have more than 50. You're going to have more than 500. Now, even if you have more than 500, it doesn't show up kind of on your profile as like 500 plus. That's okay. That's totally okay. I'm also going to send you a link at the end of this presentation since we're coming up on time. Oh my gosh, got a couple minutes left. Thank you all for hanging in. Thank you all for being here. Feel free to chat any questions. I'm going to send you some links, and one link I have is for your social selling index. I'm not a salesperson, right? Many of us in this virtual room are not salespeople per se. However, the social selling index is a way to kind of see how shall I say, kind of how visible or how powerful your profile is to your network around you. And it shows, are you leveraging the connections that you have? And I went into mine the other day. I'm like, wow, I have a lot of connections, but I'm not, I'm engaging with them somewhat, but it showed a deficit. It showed, there's an opportunity for me maybe to post more content, more original content. Does that make sense? So it's going to show you almost like a mirror and show you some areas where you can improve. And again, it's not about selling, or maybe it is. Maybe you are in business development. Maybe you're a small business owner. You do want to make sure that your social selling index is very strong and that you're out there, you're seen, you're heard, that you have influence. Okay, so I'm going to send this to you as a link. All right. And I asked, what are some of the things, any ideas? What are you going to do? What are some of the ideas to enrich your profile that you're taking away with you? And I know, Dale Carnegie, there's a saying, right? Knowledge is power. In education, we say this, knowledge is power. Guess what? It's the application of knowledge that is true power. I think Dale Carnegie said that. A lot of people, have, say that actually, that it's not the knowledge. Knowledge is in your head. If you can apply it, then that's true knowledge. Okay, so I would encourage you to take a few items from today and apply them. If you're not exactly sure, I have some ideas for you, right? I work in higher education, so we like to assign homework. So I would like to assign you some homework. That homework being, please identify 3 industry professionals that you want to connect with and send personalized connection requests. Okay. Find and join 2 new groups. Okay. Find and join, take a look at the groups that you're currently a part of. Find and join 2 new groups. Okay. And make sure that you're engaging. Create a list of people that you would like to ask for recommendations. Okay. And it looks like Oscar, thank you for sharing. Yep, that you're one step away from all-star. So hopefully doing, a couple of these things on this list will definitely get you there. And again, that's, 40 times more likely, to be visible and to be able to benefit, right, from this profile and from your visibility within LinkedIn. So you're getting there. You're getting there. Yeah, feel free. Thank you for chatting. Yeah, the upcoming events that are coming up. Feel free to, share with me any questions that you may have. I did want to just mention before we close out, if you are interested in continuous learning, DeVry and Keller do put together customized learning programs for organizations, for companies across the country. Okay, so in Long Beach and beyond, if you do happen to work for an organization that could benefit from a set of custom webinars on soft skills or technical skills, we have a lot of full-time faculty with very deep experience in technology as well as in business, and they are happy to customize something for your organization. And then I also teach on, soft skills and career development and kind of professional skills as well. Through the chamber, you do have access to a 10% reduction at DeVry or Keller. We offer a multitude of different master's degrees and MBAs. And as a chamber member, you have that as well as a free class. These are the next classes that I have coming up with the chamber. So next Friday, taking your career to the next level. We're going to be talking on February 3rd about working cross-generationally. This is often a diversity that people don't think about, but we all have different approaches depending on when we were born, believe it or not. And it's important to know and understand that diversity to help us work in teams more effectively. And then on the 10th of February, I have a time management strategies webinar coming up as well. So oh my gosh, I just wanted to thank you so much all for attending today. I hope this was helpful. We will send out the deck with several links and underlying kind of information. This is my contact information right on the screen. If you want to reach out to me, feel free to do so. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much, Chamber, and thank you, Amanda. Turn it back
Yes,
to you.
thank you, Laura. Another great presentation. So if you guys all enjoyed this one, this is only our 3rd presentation out of the 8-part series that will be taking place. So the next one is next Friday, the 29th at 10 a.m., which is Take Your Career to the Next Level. Free to our membership and $10 to our future members. And as Laura mentioned, I'll be sending out a recap email that'll include all the information from today, some links for the next or the upcoming webinars, and all the links that were discussed. So thank you all for joining us, and we hope to see you next week.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day and stay safe out there. Thank you so much.